Hey guys, what's up? Trader Trav here. Thought I'd do a video. I haven't done one in a long time. Good day to be doing it because we've just cracked $1 trillion market cap. So first time ever. We haven't really cracked it. That's a lie. I mean, we touched it. We tagged it right here. Do we break it and keep going? Obviously, I think that we will, but I don't know when. But this monster run, it's just gone on. It's so vertical. I could never have picked it that it would have done that that vertically. I thought there would have been, maybe zigzags up until touch it, but no, it's just full noise, straight to a trillion. Amazing to be part of. This is completely different from what happened. Well, at least the feeling, anyway, from here back in 2017. People that have been around longer that I've seen on Twitter have been talking about that it's more like the 2013 halving pump. I wasn't around. I wasn't trading crypto back then, so I don't know. I was trading crypto 2017, and it was way more euphoric. This one, everybody's happy, but we're like, what the hell is going on? It's more disbelief, I think. I certainly don't believe it. It's nuts. So congratulations, everybody. $1 trillion is looking good. Is there going to be a correction? That's the big question. Of course, there will be. I couldn't tell you when. No idea. I would have picked somewhere back here as some sort of bounce. Like if we go back to get rid of those lines because they're useless now. Actually, this is not a very good chart. Let's look at something that has a bit more history. So this is just the Bitcoin chart, linear. So here's 20k roughly. So there was, volatility and indecisiveness, and are we going to push up and are we not going to push down? But since then, since we've punched 20, it's just straight up. Like these are just full noise green candles. Like I've never seen anything like it. Like big wick down here due to this one, but then it just kept going. So I would have thought that my initial plan or my initial thoughts were that we would break 20 and do it convincingly, which happened. But then I would have thought that maybe we come back and then bounce off and then go full noise. But it's just nuts. So trying to pick a top at the moment. Oh man, I just don't know, eh? So if you're in a trade, I would just be trailing stops. The thing here that I see is that there's no exhaustion volume. So at the top of this back in the 20k top back in 2017, that was up until that point, that was the highest volume that was recorded. Now this is Coinbase. So I'm using that as a barometer, but anyway, which is probably logically a valid argument, considering that would be one of the biggest retail on ramps at the time. So huge volume wick, and then we sort of petered out, and then another huge volume here and that's a huge pin bar there too. Exhaustion, we've come down. This is the COVID dump, massive volume, and then we've reversed. So at each one of these big exhaustions, we've had a reversal, right? Now you'll notice that the candles with the volume, the surrounding volume either side of it is a lot lower, right? We haven't seen anything like that yet. So here it's been pretty flat. So after this, there's really not. I mean, there's been little spikes here and there where, like, here's a spike and it's sort of pushed up. But there's nothing that says that this is going to correct. So what you want to see is huge volume, like a massive bar chart like this, or this, and then it's just down here. So until I see that, I think we keep going. You know, do we do a slow correction and sort of, you know, keep going up like that? Yeah, maybe. But there isn't going to be some sort of violent turnaround until there is, you know, a violent amount of selling and buying, and the volume isn't telling me that. You know, we have hit the magical $1 trillion total market cap. So does that mean anything? You know, I don't know. And I'm going to be one of those people that just straight up tell you that I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. If you're holding, just enjoy the ride. If you're trading on leverage or whatever, then just trail your stops. Make sure that they're fairly loose. If you don't know how far back, you can use things like the ATR, average true range, or you can use some sort of volatility indicator. You can use Bollinger Bands. What I'm seeing personally is that, you know, in terms of Bitcoin, it is following the 4-hour 200 EMA pretty religiously. Like, it hasn't fallen below it since 10,000, which was back in October. And since then, it's either bounced off the 50 or it's bounced off the 200. So for me, you know, unless we fall through this line, we go up. So here is, so there's the 20, and there was that. So that was the first breakout consolidation, and then we pumped just straight through that. So here's the 200 EMA. So we're looking at like 25K, which is a big drop. It's like $10,000. I'll just switch to the daily so we can see it a bit better. So here's the breakout at 20. It really depends on where you draw your fibs from. So we'll just draw in a couple. So here's the 10K bottom. I'll just draw it out here. So the 618 pullback from the 10K to where we are now is 20K. And the 618 pullback from that dip just before we smashed all the way through everything is 24K, which is also the 50 of the larger move. So a 50% pullback in a bull market, like, we haven't had one. Like, we've had lots of 30% pullbacks before in the 2017 run, but not nothing bigger than that. So, but again, it depends on where you draw your fibs from, right? So the larger fib from 10K to where we are now, the 382 is about 26, 27K. So let's have a look at that on the 4-hour. So that's like where the 200 EMA is right now. On the 4-hour is around 26K. So if price comes all the way back to this line, which is 30%, it's not unheard of it's still, we're still crazy bullish still. It's done that before in the 2017 run, so I'm not at all worried. We start losing the 4-hour 200, then I start to, risk off a bit. But there's nothing about these candles that says that we are stopping anytime soon. And this volume is not, it's not crazy. It's not crazy out of the ordinary when you compare it to volume that's happened in the past. It's all seems pretty constant, right? So, I mean, would I buy here? Me personally, no. I mean, Grayscale's doing all the buying. Good on them. Keep that pump going. I'm certainly not looking to add any more Bitcoin here. So this is where I would just, leverage trade short runs, short in and out, and just try and stack fiat or sats or whatever else it is that I'm doing. But buying more Bitcoin to hold, there are, I believe personally that there are better returns out there. Like, we're at almost 40k, so let's say Bitcoin makes it to 100k this run. That's like a ×3. Like in a crazy bull market, you can do a ×3, ×5 easy elsewhere. So if I'm putting in fresh funds for me personally, because I've already got a cold storage stack of Bitcoin, so I'm not looking to buy any more. The majority of my portfolio is Bitcoin anyway, so that's fine. So, don't just blindly, if you're watching this, they go, oh no, Trav's not buying any more Bitcoin, so I'm not going to buy any more Bitcoin. Like, this just applies to me, right? So, like, my portfolio is basically 80% Bitcoin. The other 20% is like Ethereum and DeFi, and then I've got like 5% I've just kept aside for, the gambles, the high risk stuff. The ones that I'm hoping might go ×100 or 200, and if I lose it, then it's like 5% in total, and it doesn't really matter. It's one of those risk reward things where you risk a little bit for a big reward, but the chances of it playing out are going to be low. Anyway, that's enough on Bitcoin. Ethereum is even more vertical. That could just be because it's trying to catch up. So same thing applies for me. I mean, look at this. The difference with Ethereum and Bitcoin is that Ethereum hasn't even broken its all-time high yet. But it is dead straight vertical. From a pure TA perspective, you don't want to be longing this, but this is crypto and it's a bull market, and then logic and reasoning are out of the window. I will say that there's a large volume buying and selling here. So here's the big one in the COVID dump, and then we've had pretty consistent low stuff, but then here big buys and sells here. So is this a sign of a reversal or not? I only think any reason I say that is because we haven't reached all-time highs yet. So it could react like it did with Bitcoin. So the closer we get to something here, around here where the top is, there'll be volatility, and do we break out straight away, or do we hit the top, come back, and then smash through? Or I don't know, we're not even there yet. So Bitcoin is an obvious hold. If you're in this, trail stops. If you don't have any ETH exposure, then consider dollar cost averaging, going leverage long or leverage short. Well, going leverage short here when you've got a weekly candle that looks like this is crazy. The risk reward isn't there, especially when we're so close to resistance here, resistance all-time high. If you're going to be shorting anything with Ethereum, it should be at resistance. I suppose you could argue that there is a secondary line there just on the top of these candles, so we'll see, right? But it's sort of in the middle of nowhere at the moment. But Ethereum's looking good. Hold it if you've got it. Dollar cost average if you don't. The noise on Twitter is people are calling for 10k and 20k for Ethereum. I've got no idea. I believe that I personally believe it's worth more than here. I think it'll break all-time high, but I don't know when. Go to log. Ugh. Every time the log, you change the log, and if you've got Bollinger Bands on, and then it auto scales to the Bollinger Bands. Annoying. Anyway, so from a log scale, that was a massive run up, and we've only had this little thing here, so we've got more to run. We haven't even beat all-time highs. I'm pretty sure that Ethereum's going to be breaking all-time highs. So for me, I'm probably underexposed to Ethereum, if anything. Need more of that. But so if I'm buying spot bags of Ethereum, it's going to be after a pullback, whenever that is. And if that pullback means that I have to buy it bounces off all-time highs, so be it, right? I can always leverage trade and do scalps and stuff. Here's the volume again. It's a descending volume profile, which in TA circles means that there's going to be some sort of volatile breakout or move when things get compressed. Volatility starts dropping, but it's really only 1, 2, 3, 4 lines here. On average, it's sort of gone down and then exploded up. So, take that with a grain of salt, really. But there will be some sort of fuckery around here, definitely. Have a look at my. I'm going to turn that off. That's getting annoying. Okay. Right, here's Litecoin. This is Litecoin on the log chart, just so you're not confused. So, clear break of the log. Trend line, so the previous run for a Litecoin went 84x from the breakout. We are currently 2.5. We're up 250% from $48, $50. This has got more to go. This will break all-time high again. You can argue that it's only doing that because of Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, does that matter? I guess the thing to really pay attention to is, is it better to be buying alt now or not? So if you're not already in alts and you're thinking about buying alts, you need to ask yourself a question: is it worth it buying alts now, or do I just buy Bitcoin instead? Because we look at, this is the Litecoin chart against Bitcoin. So when I bought some Litecoin recently, which was around about the $70 mark. When was that? Around yearish. When was it? November, end of November, start of December. So that's here. If you bought Litecoin at any point in time before this, so back here, this is obviously in a downtrend, right? So you still made money, but you were better off buying Bitcoin. So if you had a choice between buying Litecoin and Bitcoin, back at the start of the year, you would have made more money buying Bitcoin than Litecoin, even though, here's the start of the year, Litecoin has gone up since then, but Bitcoin has gone up more. And that applies to all alts, right? So I'm not saying all alts are better or worse than Bitcoin, but I'm just like, the rules are the same. So between March, this is the link, the Chainlink perp on FTX. So between March and August, during DeFi season, like Link just rocketed and gained like 9x. Since August to say the bottom of September, like it lost 50%. Okay, so in USD terms. This is the Link Bitcoin chart. The entire chart has been losing value the entire time, with the exception of these pumps. It's obviously, oh god. So that's October 17. So between December and April, which is the top of DeFi season, Link outperformed Bitcoin, obviously, right? But since then, versus Bitcoin, it has lost value. So if you bought Link during DeFi season and sold the top, you made money and you did the right thing. If you bought Link anytime since April, you were better off buying Bitcoin. In terms of making money. Let's go back to here. So even during this period here, where we bottomed in September and then we've gone up 80% between September and now, Litecoin, Bitcoin. Here's September and now. So September and now. So here to here, it's gone up 10%. So up a little bit. So you're looking at the USD perspective, it's gone up 80%, almost 90%. But because Bitcoin's also been going up as well, it needs to outperform it. So depending on where you got in September, which could be this line, you might have been flat. Like here's the support resistance. So if you bought here and it's here, you might have, it's right here now. So you might have made maybe 4% on your money. This looks like now it's starting to turn around, to be honest. So, will Link start to outperform Bitcoin soon? There are a lot of alt charts that are starting to look like this, to be honest. If Bitcoin starts to peter off, that could be the breathing room that the alt actually need. So, you got to remember at the start of this video talking about Bitcoin, how vertical it was. I mean, eventually people are going to start taking profit on Bitcoin. You know, the hardcore holders are never going to sell. You got Grayscale, they're always going to buy. You got people like Michael Saylor and the rest of the institutions, they're going to be buying bits all the time. But retail, you know, some of these guys have been holding, I don't know, since what, 2013? You can't tell me that they're a position where they would have more money that they would ever need. So eventually there will be some people like that and they will sell. That could start a cascade of more people selling, and we might get the 10 or 20% pullback. That's when the alts could start to go. Like, this is starting to slowly turn around. Yeah, this is not to dig on Litecoin. There was just not Litecoin, Link, just an example of if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to get in, if you're looking to add more funds or sell some Bitcoin because you want to stack sats and buy alts to flip, get more Bitcoin, you know, you need to see where it's at on the Bitcoin chart. Just looking at the USD chart, like another one, what's Wi-Fi doing, right? So yeah, since the top-ish at the start of the year, it's sort of gone down a little bit, all right? But if you look at it versus Bitcoin, it's gone down a lot, heaps, back to like basically all-time lows versus Bitcoin. So if you're saying to yourself, yeah, where'd I put my money, Wi-Fi or Bitcoin? If those were your two decisions, it would quite clear that you would have made more money buying more Bitcoin than adding to your Wi-Fi position. This doesn't mean that Wi-Fi is shit or it's not going to go up or anything like that. If you have a binary choice between Bitcoin and Wi-Fi, clearly you would have made more money from the start of the year to now, just buying more Bitcoin, or at least not selling your existing Bitcoin to buy Wi-Fi. In terms of dollar returns, way down. While we're here, let's look at it. Still on an uptrend, but Wi-Fi is one of those coins that heavily depends on fundamentals as far as I'm concerned. So this whole delay with version 2 coming out and the way it's very disjointed at the moment. You know, the website, the way it is, like there's web pages all over the place and they're all spaghetti together, and you got to know the links. And like there's a new version 2 UI coming out that the community's putting together. Is going to make everything a little more easy to navigate. Version 2 vaults are still being tested. They're being very cautious with it. They're going through audits. All of that is really good. What you don't want to do is launch a very, very complicated vault and then, you know, have it hacked or exploited, might be the better word, because that would ruin we've seen what happens to other DeFi protocols that have had an exploit, and you know the price has never recovered. Here we go. It's not what I want. A bit better. So here is the harvest finance. So that's where just before the exploit, and there's the exploit, and it's never recovered. So from a longevity perspective, Wi-Fi is doing the right thing and keep taking it slow. Doing this sort of thing though does flush out the weekends, and you know price will continue to go sideways until that's launched. Could break out of here though. Who knows? Who knows? It does look good. There is a floor here. There is a definite floor. So if it loses that, you're in trouble. That head and shoulders sort of didn't. It got rejected. It did fall technically, but it recovered quite well. So if it breaks this trend line, we're going up. But again, you need to ask yourself, is it going to go up versus Bitcoin? So, and it might actually, now that if I remember back to what it looked like. Because we're at the bottom of this trend line, so it could go up from here. So there's one to look out for. Let's look at another one that I am currently in. This is Dodge. This is Dodge Bitcoin. So I don't really look at the USD chart for Dodge. Although you can if you want. It's just, ridiculous. Look at it. Look at that. It's gone up in USD terms almost 3x. Dodge has actually outperformed Bitcoin recently, and Ethereum, and like pretty much everything else. This is the Dodge Bitcoin chart. So in the last week, Dodge has at most 127% more than what Bitcoin had, and it's still up. So if you put money into the market, you would have made more money buying Dodge than Bitcoin, which is great. Good old Dodge. I love Dodge. I don't know why. I think it's definitely the community and the memes, right? The good thing about Dodge is it's like a clock. It's ever reliable. I don't think there's another chart like this in the entirety of crypto. So it will pump every alt cycle at least once. It hasn't done that yet. It hasn't had a pump in a long time, like a decent one like this. So the big one in 2017 went 8x. And you might be thinking, 8x, that's not very much. This is 8x in terms of Bitcoin. So it increased 8 times more than the Bitcoin price increased. And Bitcoin itself went from $200 to 20,000, so that's 100. Yeah, and then Dodge went 8 times more than that. So, right. So here, I've got some lines drawn in. You usually, if you look back in history, usually you're going to get to at least 100. So that's why I've got that line. And there's a big chunk of money around 50. So if we break 200, we should get to 50 at least. I'll be taking some profit off here, and then we keep going. There's also resistance here around 80 by the looks of it. So these wicks up to 80. So, and there's closes here. So, they're the logical take profits for me. 100. If we pass 100, there's 120. Then we've got the ultimate moon at like 180. Will this alt season be bigger than 2017? Then you could argue that 200 sats would be where we're at. So 200 sats from the bottom is like a 10x almost. So you're saying that during alt season, like proper alt season, that Dodge will appreciate 10 times more than Bitcoin will, even if it's only temporary, because it is. Because once people sell out of Dodge, that's it, right? Come back next year. As good as the community is, it doesn't really do anything. Like there's no not actively developed or anything. There's crazy inflation, but it's good. It's good for alt season. What else do I want to talk about? let's talk about sushi next. Why not? Go to the daily. The sushi's had a great run, like higher highs, higher lows. This has been like the easiest price action to read. Textbook stuff. Up, down, up, down, up, down. We could probably raise that up a bit. So would not surprise me if we come back down here, then zip off again. There's lots of fundamentals coming out with sushi, all their bento box releases, and dairy swap with the Wi-Fi merger. So there's lots to like about sushi swap. What does the Bitcoin chart look like? Oop. So I mean, it's doing pretty well against Bitcoin too. So it's had that big run up to December. It's only lost a little bit, and we're sort of going sideways now. So it's holding its own. So if this goes sideways, basically that means that if Bitcoin goes up, so does sushi. That's fine. That's great. You start to worry when this chart starts to go down. So then you say to yourself, man, I would have made more money holding just Bitcoin. But right now it's going sideways-ish, so that's totally fine. Uni Bitcoin. So the project that it forked from versus Bitcoin, it's starting to go up, but just overall it's creating this bottoming thing. So it really has to break out here before you would sell any Bitcoin to buy Uni. Uni itself, from a USD perspective though, see what I mean before, like massive pump, right? So it's gone from, it's like 100% return, but in the same time Bitcoin is also pumped, remember? So you know, if you are a liquidity provider or whatever with Uni, then it's caught up to where Bitcoin would have been, so everything's fine. You know, don't just take what I say at face value. Everybody has different opinions and strategies, and if you're an LP, then you don't want to just take your money out because you're missing out on fees and there's other things at play. But just straight vanilla, do I hold this coin or do I hold this other coin? You know, if you're accumulating Uni because you want to have voting power, then yeah, you know, don't sell it, right? Lots of reasons. Could be a local top, eh? Not a lot of crazy volume, but so that pumped on pretty low volume. I mean, it's bigger than this area, but everything is just so overheated right now. Crazy overheated. 1 inch. The other automated market maker, yeah, sort of like it's a layer on top, right? So if you don't know what 1 inch is, it's a protocol that will look at all of the dexes and then try and find the best rate for you, and also it will split your order between them if just pushing it through one would cause lots of slippage, so you end up with more. So some of these pools might be across, you know, like let's see, like ETHUSD, right? That's a massive pool, so that's probably a bad example because you know, there's so much liquidity, there's not very much slippage. But if you have a new project that's listed on Uniswap and SushiSwap, as an example, there's only so much liquidity. If you went through one, you might slip the price 5%, but if you chopped your order in half, you might only slip it 2% overall. So yeah, 1 inch will do that for you automatically. So good. It's a good service. Really only applies though if or really only helps you if you know, it's if the coin is listed across multiple dexes unless of course you're using the Chi token, which they have, which will save you gas. Now, big drop off here, so that's all the people just selling their airdrop to get their free money. Totally expected. Same thing happened with the Uniswap token. It's now bottomed out. Most people have sold if they were going to sell, and we're making our way back up. So the Bitcoin pair is sort of going sideways, so it's holding its own against Bitcoin. It's almost broken the 50 EMA though, so there could be a run on it soon if that sort of pops up and jumps. The same thing with Link too. If we go back to the Link chart, it's bottoming out. Go back to the daily. It looks like it might have bottomed out, so there's this accumulation zone, and then bang, it just took off and we're back in here again. You know, for Link to take off, I want to see it reclaim this. Dots had a monster run, but from the Bitcoin chart, it's just been death. You were way better off buying Bitcoin than you were DOT until recently. So if you entered DOT at say the start of January or just after Christmas, you would have made more money buying DOT than you would have Bitcoin. So we're now at this point where we've reclaimed the 50. This could rocket off like that. So it could outperform Bitcoin. At the moment, it's rocketed off already. You know, will it keep going higher? I don't know the fundamentals of DOT that much. You know, what's going on and things and what's being released. I know there's lots and lots of work and there's lots of activity and there's lots of new projects being launched on the chain and the parallel chains or Paraswaps or whatever it is, and the Polka Starter project, which launches new chains on Polkadot. So all of that stuff's happening. But, you know, it's definitely, in terms of the Ethereum killers, this one has the most hype from what I can figure out. So keep an eye on it. If you've been in my group, in my Facebook group, you would have seen me posting charts about Polkadot before, like when price was, you know, back down here. So hopefully you got in back then. I mean, that was the breakout after Christmas, and it just hasn't stopped since then. So Aave and Synthetics, they're both going nuts. The meme currently with Synthetics and Aave is that they're following each other, but at like 1/10 the price. So if you notice down here, like Synthetics is 12 and Aave is almost 120. So it's like 1 to 10. So if you see Aave take off, more than likely Synthetics will take off, and vice versa. Synthetics Bitcoin has been out. It's been outperforming Bitcoin as of late. So that's all good. It's been going sideways for so long, so it's been holding its own against Bitcoin. So that's monster. That's like since November to January, Synthetics has been holding its own against Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's been, you know, going up so much, and Synthetics versus Bitcoin has been holding its own, which is that's strong. It's really strong. So you like to see that with alts that you are thinking about buying. What else? The Uniswap perp, that's just rocketed off too. So I'll talk about this one. So the Uniswap perp is the top 100 Uniswap coins that are traded against Ethereum by volume, and FTX has made an index for them. So if you want to get in on the Uniswap action, but you don't want to pay, or you don't want to trade on Uniswap because of the fees or whatever, you can just buy this token, or trade the token. And since Christmas Eve, it's gone up 61%. There is no Uniswap versus Bitcoin thing. This is just like an index, right? So if you think of it this way, if you think that when it goes full-blown alt season, if you think the action is going to happen on Uniswap and SushiSwap and all the DEXs rather than ICOs and things, then you can just buy this one token and hold it and you should be fine. So like use the futures or something, so you don't have to pay the funding that way. So you can just buy it once and just hold it, so you have like a wide stop and just let it go. So that's one way to play it. I'll be doing that, but it's not alt season yet, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, so I think that's enough for this video. I've prattled on enough. Hope what I wanted to cover was just trying to explain how it's best to time alts, versus the Bitcoin chart and the dollar chart. And hopefully I did that. If you got any questions, you can reach me on Twitter or in my Facebook group. Just come in and post, and either I'll answer or somebody else will in the group. Lots of people in there. It's a free group. Don't charge for it. Never have. Been 3.5 years. So everyone is welcome. Just answer the questions when you apply. Yeah, that's it. All right. Talk to you guys soon.